The future of our country will be decided this week. Elections don't just matter when voting for president. This election might be the most consequential of our lifetime. So much is at stake, from gun safety laws to immigration policy, clean water and air, and whether or not millions of people have access to health care.
These issues will be decided from the House of Representatives to the Senate to dozens of governor's races. State House elections will determine the future of climate change, criminal justice reform, education funding, LGBTQ equality, and even your ability to vote.
All of these races and ballot measures are a chance to decide on the direction of our country. Right now, people are turning out in record numbers for early voting, but that's not enough.
We urge you to go to the polls by November 6th and make your voice heard. But please don't stop there. Between now and Election Day, there's so much you can do to encourage voter turnout, from texting and phone banking to knocking on doors. Visit thelastweekend.org to get involved.
Here's how your vote and your volunteer work will make a huge difference.
Voters this year will decide control of the U.S. Congress. Every single seat in the House of Representatives is up for grabs, and control of the House will be decided by flipping just 23 seats, 23 out of 435. Half of the most closely watched House races are in just a handful of states: California, New York, Pennsylvania, Florida, Michigan, New Jersey, and Minnesota. So if you're a voter in one of those places, you have power. Meanwhile, 1/3 of the Senate is in play. How many seats would it take to switch control? 2. The Senate controls who sits in the president's cabinet, and as we recently witnessed, the makeup of our nation's highest courts for generations to come. In Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Missouri, and Florida, the Senate races this year could come down to just a handful of votes. But what happens in Congress is only part of it. There are close races for governor in over 20 states, including places people think of as deep red or blue, like Kansas, South Dakota, Oregon, and Connecticut. The stakes in state legislatures are incredibly close too. In Colorado, Maine, Minnesota, and New York, just a single flipped seat will change the entire balance of power. These elections matter immensely heading into 2020, when voting districts around the country will be completely redrawn as they are every 10 years. Whether or not these districts are drawn fairly or gerrymandered by politicians and their corporate donors comes down to who controls these state governments. And we can't forget ballot initiatives, where citizens get to directly set policy with their vote. In Florida, Amendment 4 would restore the vote to people who have served their time since committing a crime. 1.4 million people could win their voting rights, more than in any single initiative since women's suffrage. Clean air and climate change are on the ballot in Washington state. Initiative 1631 would make polluters pay $15 for every ton of carbon pollution they emit, with 100% of funds going to clean energy projects and helping local communities affected by climate change and bad air. Issue 1 in Ohio would convert non-violent drug offenses from felonies into misdemeanors, sparing up to 10,000 people from prison and using the money saved to fund treatment and rehabilitation. And Californians will vote on the most far-reaching animal protection law ever, Prop 12, which would crack down on cruelty to animals in factory farms.
We, the voters, have the power to decide all of this.
And it starts now. If your state has early voting, get out and vote. If it doesn't, make a plan for voting on November 6th.
But please don't stop there. Visit thelastweekend.org now to get involved.
There's no denying the importance of this election. Please, make your voice heard.